Welcome to another Conquest Chronicles video podcast. I'm Tommy Morrison. I'm joined by the three Nicks. So this is a little confusing, but we use the last names to make it a little bit easier for everyone. Nick Barbarino, Nick Dempsey, and Nick Schober. So there you go. Tommy and the three Nicks today. We're going to talk about some USC basketball. Now that the brackets are out, we're going to talk about some USC football with the quarterback situation not necessarily nailed down. Another USC former quarterback who's going on to Denver. How will he do? That's Mark Sanchise, of course. And then we have three Knicks. We have three quarterbacks we're going to talk about for USC. Matt Leinart being the third one. Talking about getting the band back together at the Coliseum, but this time in the NFL. But before we get to football, obviously basketball, big topic in the sports world right now with the brackets coming out. We'll start with you, Marino. How are the Trojans going to do against Providence, and then how far can they go?
The Providence matchup, I look at it, and I think it's a pretty good matchup for them. Providence doesn't have anyone over the size height of 6'9", so Jovanovic is going to have a feast down there. If he can get his game going, he's going to have 2-3 inches over the next biggest guy. Providence is a good team. They beat some good teams. I think they have a win over. I think they played Kansas pretty well, and they played Michigan State pretty well. They lost Michigan State, but they have some good wins, and they were in that conference with Xavier, and they have one of the best point guards in the league, Chris Dunn, who's probably going to be a lottery pick, who worked his way up there. And then they have this guy, Ben Bento, who averages over 21 points a game. So it's going to be tough for the Trojans to slow that down, but I think that defensively, they can definitely do some damage to this team, and their height advantage should help them. They've been getting killed on the boards this season, but to finally have that kind of height advantage, it will be interesting to see how it plays out for them.
Dempsey, what do you think?
This USC really struggled the later half of the season, especially when the competition really started to get tough. Now that they're in the tournament, all of their opponents are going to be tough. So I'm a little concerned. I know a lot of the people on ESPN during the selection show sort of universally pick Providence. But when USC gets hot, they get hot, and they're tough to beat. It's just a matter of whether or not that USC team shows up. If they do, you got to really like USC to make a decent run. But if we get the USC team that sort of showed up later in the season, I think Providence could probably knock them off. But we'll see. I'm hoping for great things.
Schober, last word on the basketball squad.
Yeah, I think if I'm Andy Enfield, I tell them they're playing with house money right now. They can go out and play with their hair on fire. They had a great season. They thrashed UCLA, ended their season, did a lot for the program, put them back in the national spotlight. As far as how far they're going to go, really rough, ending up in the same bracket with North Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana. Not quite sure they're going to be able to make it through that gauntlet. But yeah, they're going to put up a good fight against Providence. Ben Benzel, I think, is going to be the key to shut him down. He's that 6'9" guy Barbarino was talking about, and he can shoot threes. And I think the reason Villanova was able to handle them is because they got him in foul trouble early, and he didn't get too many minutes. So that's going to be key. But yeah, we have a lot of athletes, a lot of guys who can go out, and if they just go out and play over their heads, they can surprise anybody.
Yeah, the biggest thing about this
team, so obviously picking them to win national championship, just like I did back in 2011, which was the last time they were in it. And I will continue to do that as long as I make the tournament, and I will continue to lose my bracket pools. Moving over to football now, now that we got the basketball out of the way with, because everyone, USC football, that's what people love. Helton says he's not going to name his starting QB till after spring ball. A, is this a good move? And B, who should he name? Dempsey, will start this time with you.
It seems like he seems pretty set on who it's going to be. I think he's going to give spring practice the opportunity for maybe someone to surprise him, but it feels like it's Brown all the way. And I think it's a good move. I think he's in the best position to take the job over and do it well. But it's a short window for anyone to try to climb the ranks. So it seems to me that Helton doesn't feel like there's going to be a reasonable chance of that happening. So I think it says Brown's almost certainly the starter, naming him just this early in spring.
Sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Helton saying that pretty much hands the job to Brown. I think it's maybe putting the other guys on notice. The other guys being Darnold, really, I think is the only other guy who might have a shot. but he's pretty much putting him on notice and saying, hey, if you wanna compete, you have the spring to make it happen. Fink will probably redshirt. Jalen Green has kind of moved on into a utility position, and Brown is that quintessential stand-up pocket passer that fits the SC style. So, yeah, that says to me that Helton has pretty much handed the job to Brown.
Barbarino, we got two Knicks giving him the job already. Are you going to be the third and final to give Max Brown that starting nod?
Well, I mean, I was at spring practice last week for Daily Trojan, and Max Brown has been taking it like he is the starter. The way he commands the huddle, the way his presence and his demeanor at practice is that he is the starting quarterback. And I think that's great. I think that helps in saying that he's going to name a quarterback before the season starts is great, because I'm thinking back to when we had Max Wittick and Cody Kessler competing, and you had them switching every other quarter, and it was like the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But it's definitely better to have that quarterback, especially with Alabama being the first game. You want to have your quarterback set in stone. You're going to be like, this is our guy, and we want to have the team rally behind him. When you have that quarterback situation up in the air, the whole team doesn't know who to get behind, and as a team going against Alabama, that's going to be key.
Yeah, in that Alabama game, I think every single person, current student, alumni, fan, whatever, has that game circled and is going to try and figure out a way to get to Dallas for that one. It'll be a good one, and hopefully it will be Max Brown. I have faith in him. A quarterback that used to play at USC, obviously Mark Sanchez, now going to Denver, where he's the only quarterback, so good situation for him there. So do we think he will end up being the starter for the Broncos, and how will he do? Schober, we'll start with you.
I think John Elway actually tweeted that Sanchez is the first step in the process. It's almost like he's saying, look, I know, just relax. I promise we're going to figure something else out. So he's already apologizing for the move. He used words like, yeah, Sanchez will compete. And they're already going after other guys. They're already looking at Fitzpatrick. I think he was asking for a little too much money. But they're still going to try to talk to him. I think they also met with RG3. So I think there's a lot of time before fall, but I don't think I see Sanchez starting for the Broncos opening day.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I don't think Mark Sanchez is the right answer. He had a really good shot in Philadelphia with Chip Kelly to kind of show that he could be a starting quarterback, and he kind of failed there. But I mean, if you're looking at the Denver roster and how they're constructed, it's almost very similar to when he entered the league with that Jets defense. He won't be asked to do that much, and it could be a situation where he can kind of play his own rhythm, find his own rhythm, and maybe get back on his feet. He just hasn't been the same since that second year in New York, really. That hasn't looked like the same quarterback, but maybe if he gets a good defense behind him, things will change.
Dempsey, what do you think?
It's he's a nice body to have, just because they don't have anybody on that roster right now. But he's probably not the long-term solution. If he does end up starting, he's probably not going to be asked to do as much, just because that Denver defense is so good, and they've obviously found success without having elite quarterback play. But I think this is, I think they're hoping, like, worst case scenario, if we don't find an answer in the draft this year, we've got a nice stopgap. Maybe we can bring someone else in that's situated like him, that's not necessarily elite, but can play, and we can have them compete. But I think right now you're going to want some sort of answer at quarterback, and I think that's what Denver's doing here. But he's not going to be asked to do a lot, and he's going to have a great defense, a great running game, so he could do very well there. So it'll be exciting to see, but I don't think Denver is banking on Sanchez for the long term.
Yeah, and the good news for Denver is they won a Super Bowl with literally the worst quarterback performance of all time. So maybe they don't even need a quarterback. Maybe they can start a new offense where they just punt on first down. So another NFL team moving into the Coliseum, the Los Angeles Rams, everybody knows. But one guy's making a little bit of news, Matt Leinart, thinking about maybe getting the band back together. I don't know how serious he was being when he tweeted out that he wanted to get him and Lendell and Reggie and all the guys back into the Coliseum. So, Barbarino, what if this happened?
This is just the biggest what-if game you could ever play, honestly. It'd be great to have Leinart and Reggie and Lendell back together. Are they going to win? Probably not. Reggie just tore his ACL, so his careers probably will never be the same. Lendell hasn't played in the NFL in like 4 or 5 years, and I don't think Leinart's played in the NFL in like 4 or 5 years either. It's great to think about, those reminiscences, and it'd be great to see Reggie, Lendell, and and Leinart run out of the Coliseum for one more game. Realistically, that's never going to happen. Although Leinart might be better than Case Keenum, I don't know.
Dempsey, is there a chance of this happening? And if it did happen,
oh God. I don't know about entertaining. It might just be sad. But no, all these guys are sort of, their best days are behind them. And it would be interesting to see them do it as like an honorary captain's thing, like, hey, welcome to USC, lead the ULA football team out onto the field. But no, if they actually suited up and played, heck, even if they somehow managed to bring Pete Carroll back to coach him, it would be very bad. And I don't think Matt Leinart's knees could handle it, or Reggie Bush's ACL. So it'd be bad, but it could be. It would, if it were to happen. I doubt it, but if it did, it'd be a nice little publicity stunt. I think that could really, get some headlines.
All right, so 2 Knicks say no. What about our third Nick, Schober?
I think we've all seen what happens when we try to recreate the Pete Carroll era at the collegiate level. So maybe we should just take a break from that, try to move forward. But yeah, I agree with the other guys. You might sell some tickets. You might sell some jerseys. Yeah, they could do worse than Leinart, I think, at quarterback. But a lot of pie in the sky there.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen either. But I will say this about Matt Leinart. I think if he would have gotten a more of a fair chance, when he was in Texas, he didn't look that bad. But he didn't really get a shot at it. And I agree, it would look kind of like an alumni flag football game. I was like old timers running around just trying not to hurt themselves. So that's what we got for you this week. We will see you next time with more USC news, information, and opinions.